Do you mean they sent a package? You don't really think it's a bomb, do you? Get the interns to take it outside. No, I don't care if it's a pathogen that could melt their faces. I don't want it anywhere near within 100 miles of me. Oh, all right, I'll keep the letter that came with it. It's not like anyone has ever heard of a letter bomb anyways. Honestly, tribute seems the most likely option. But just in case... Well, Patricia, you know my motto. Better safe than sorry. No, my motto is not, do what I say or you'll be out on the street. Honestly, Patricia, you never listen. I have a plan to ensure that no one is harmed. Well, none of us, anyway. What? No, Patricia, not now. We don't have time to chit-chat. It's time for the show. Good morning, my little doves. Today I have a special surprise for all of my beautiful listeners. We're going to be doing our first ever giveaway. Oh, bloody hell. Wrong one. There we are. Patricia will be taking calls in just a moment, and the fifth caller will receive this lovely mystery box and all of its assuredly wonderful contents for their pleasure. Oh, it seems we have a winner already. Arthur McDermott, come to claim your fabulous box of various goodies. Congratulations, and I'm sure you and your new box will be very happy together. Now then, on with today's lesson. Today we look back on the history of our nation and how I went from being a poor girl with nothing more than a hope and a dream to bringing the world together in a united stand against tyranny. I wanted to remind everyone how I came to be the beautiful overlord and symbol of peace that I am today. Put on your thinking caps and be prepared. There might be a quiz after all this to see who gets to be teacher's pet. It all began on a cold and windy day in early December 2027. The great and benevolent Queen Elizabeth II had been gone for just a few years, but Parliament had been waiting in the wings to determine how they would bring the next in line to the throne. What would normally take a few weeks at most took years of deliberation. Rather than insert a figurehead, the surrounding European nations came together and created one great nation with a mass amount of power. This would be known as the Banding of the Isles. At this, America decided that this new conglomeration was to be watched more closely. Rather than understanding this was for peace within nations, they believed it was preparation for war, and the waters between the two nations began to grow sour. After an embargo was put on all Banded Isle goods traveling into North America, and the seizure of a few of the Banded Isle ships, it became the final straw, a single gunshot that would draw the first blood. The shot was made on August 1st of 2038, and it rang out from that ship, the Endeavour. What was just a simple ship carrying tea leaves across the pond became the catalyst, similar to the incident in Boston. History did, in fact, repeat itself. This time the war was greater, the stakes were higher, and the weapons were on a world-leveling scale. America's allies rallied to her aid, but the Banded Isles stood alone, as the world did not accept the union between our nations. Tensions grew for years as most of the combat was at sea, until again America went a step too far and launched what would be known as the Silencer, a bomb that destroyed what was previously the great island nation of Ireland. The bomb was launched on January the 8th, 2041, and was supposed to be an act of patriotism, or so the Americans called it, but their true intention was to put an end to it all. This date should be particularly familiar with all of you, since my reign began in 2047, every year, 1 week after New Year's Day, we all come together and hold a moment of silence for the great nation and the lives that were lost. On that day, when I was 4 years old, I saw my mother weeping as we all stood in shock at what happened. I will never forget her crying into my father's shoulder, and how nothing could stifle her cries of sadness. It was that day that I promised myself I would never see my mother cry that way again. On my 10th birthday, I wanted one thing, and one thing only, for everyone in the world to come together in peace over a common goal. It was on March 18th, 2047, when I had summoned the world together and asked them with all of my little heart to please stop fighting. Set down your weapons. You're hurting people who should be shown love, not hate. And with my power as an Amiga, I became a princess, a beacon of hope in a hopeless time. As I matured, I became a queen, until finally I refined my own identity as, you guessed it, as the Overlord. Now that I've gone over the history of, well, me, I want to talk a little about our very special guest for today's broadcast. He is a world-renowned historian, specializing in post-World War III sociology. I don't want to spoil the surprise, so let's go ahead and bring him in. Patricia! Bring out our guest! Could you hobble any slower? We will be right back, my little angels. Don't go anywhere! Now that he has arrived, we are pleased to welcome the renowned Dr. Philip Blackwell to the studio. Dr. Blackwell is a professor of sociology at the famous New Oxford University. He is here to have a discussion about the history of the Banded Isles, as obviously I am quite knowledgeable in these matters myself. It's good of you to be here, Dr. Blackwell.
Well, my dear, I do love having discussions about our nation's history. So much has changed in the past 50 years, and it truly is an amazing time we live in.
So, Dr. Blackwell, what is your favorite part of...
However, I did notice that when you were recounting our history earlier in the broadcast, you didn't get everything quite right.
I beg your pardon, but I don't think I'm the one in the wrong here, Doctor.
Well, dear, you stated that the ship that shot the fateful cannon was the Endeavour. In fact, the Endeavour was not built until 2040 to combat the enemy naval fleet. The ship that blasted that shot was named the Intrepid, captained by Sir Hugo Thompson, considered still to be an American hero.
But, Doctor, I think you are quite mistaken on that point. I know what I said, and
Your beautifulness, I know for a fact that you are wrong because I was on the Intrepid when it fired. I am an American, born and bred, and only became a citizen of the Banded Isles after the war.
I'm sorry, what? I must have missed the implications of that statement. You mean to say you were an American soldier in World War III?
Oh, yes. We fought bravely and valiantly. But in the end, it's hard to fight man-to-man against nuclear warheads. Also, I noticed that you slightly overinflated your role at the end of the war.
I know you are mistaken about that, love. If you recall, that is something I was there for!
Yes, of course, I know that. But the texts are quite clear on this issue. There was a treaty underway before you ever met the global consulate. There was a marriage contract in place that would have ended the war in under a year.
Dr. Blackwell, thank you so much for coming into the studio. You've been such a dear. Patricia, please see that Dr. Blackwell makes it out of the studio with all haste.
Wait a minute, I'm not done yet! You also left out the part where you did not, in fact, make an impassioned child speech to move the hearts of the nation. You just stood in the corner most of the time, crying until your mother—
Patricia! Get this man out of the studio this instant!
Wait! I'm not finished! I need to right these wrongs! Wait!
Well, that just goes to show that not every historian is knowledgeable about my rise to power. Seems like the university might be down one less terrible scholar before the week is out. Now that I have educated Mr. Blackwell on the correct history of my rise to power, there is another matter that must be discussed. I'm sure all you regular listeners tuned in last month and heard me read the nasty letter written by some terrorist organization calling themselves UFAT. I have since declined sending them any sort of reply. However, it appears that they are resilient indeed, so I will update you all on what has transpired. Since the letter, it seems like every time I try and relax at the cafe with a cup of tea, one of their minions comes up to me and tries to interact. Now, they haven't done any type of harm to me, which would cause my personal cyber shield to activate and liquefy them like fondue. These messengers have been kind, mild-mannered, and overall very meek. They all come with large headphones blocking the sound of my voice. Clever indeed, but sadly, one did paint the street for not looking both ways before trotting off. Poor bloke never saw it coming, really. So, as a response, I will let it be known here and now. I will show no fear and face these insurgents in my own home. You will not threaten my babies or question my authority. If you truly had nothing to fear and wanted to extend an olive branch rather than hide behind some piece of paper and an acronym, then come and we can have a simple chat. If you truly feel as if you should be the ruler of the world, speak with me, and we might come to some sort of agreement. Now I have no more time to waste on this political nonsense. Today we have talked a lot about the past, but I would be remiss if I did not also discuss the future. We have welcomed in a new year, and with that I want to know what all you sweeties are hoping to accomplish in the upcoming year. Last episode, I made it a point to ask you all to write me letters detailing your New Year's resolutions. I had Patricia pick 5 at random, and... oh, for goodness sake, Patricia! Where are my letters? Patricia, I really don't know why you insist on vexing me. Sometimes your inattention to detail is truly baffling. All right, our first New Year's resolution comes from Leanne Jennifer. Her New Year's resolution is inspiring, so I wanted to share that one first. She says, "Dear Overlord Audrey, my New Year's resolution for the upcoming year is to believe in myself more and try to doubt myself less." Well, Leanne, my dear, I think that is quite admirable. I think we could all stand to take those wise words to heart. Thank you for sharing that with the listeners, my lovely. It's going to be hard to beat that, but let's see what our next lovely listener has to say. Shakira Dunn writes, "Dear Overlord Audrey, my New Year's resolution is the same as every year, to be happy. This last year was incredibly detrimental to my mental health, and while it was prosperous to my creative life, it was a little crazy. Next year I want to prosper, but I also want to feel good while doing it, and maybe take on less work too." Another wonderful resolution, Shakira. I can't speak to everyone, but I know that your benevolent overlord often takes too much on her shoulders. I have learned the hard way that there has to be a work-life balance, hence my half-year hiatus to visit the Caribbean. I think I will also work on that, Shakira. And I suggest all of you do the same. We must all protect our mental health, after all. Next up is a letter from Jason McGee. Jason says, Dear Overlord Audrey, my New Year's resolution is to continue to better myself and to progress in life. This includes getting better in voice acting, in work, find love, and of course, lose 20 pounds. Wow, Jason, that is a lot to do in a year. You better hit the ground running. And trust me, finding love is on my list too. But let me tell you, even in a post-World War III world, it is not easy to find a good match. You'd think all the turmoil would change people for the better, but I just do not find that to be the case. But I do hope that you have better luck than me. Our next lovely listener is Stuart Moyer, and apparently he is quite colourful. Hey, Overlord Audrey! Wow, Stuart, what a way to address your benevolent overlord. I hope your resolution is good, because so far I am not impressed. Thank you so much for asking about our New Year's resolutions, because mine is expanding on my career as a voice actor, and getting paid! Asterisk, air horn noises, asterisk. For the love of pink. Patricia, which one of these is the air horn? Is it this one? Oops, not that one. Maybe this? Oh, goodness me. Patricia, I thought we were getting rid of that one. Stuart, let's just assume we found the right button and move on. Also, what in glitter's name is this voice acting people keep talking about? Is that like the voices on the old cartoons that we used to watch as kids? Do people still do that? Either way, I wish you the best in your endeavours, Stuart. Our final New Year's resolution comes from Nick Chang. This is a good one to end on, ladies and gentlemen. Dear Overlord Audrey, for the next year, I resolve to put myself out there and share what I have to offer to the world with less fear. I want to really boost my presence and do things I would have thought impossible years ago. You know what, Nick? I think that is a wonderful resolution. So often we let fear and insecurity get in the way of realizing our full potential. And I think we would all be amazed at what we could do if we looked past the fear and really reached for the stars. Ooh, I think that's all we have time for this segment. But I have certainly enjoyed reading all of your letters. All of you beautiful listeners really do have wonderful resolutions, and I hope you are able to achieve each and every one of them this year. I don't know about all of you, darlings, but I have certainly learned a lot today. Mostly I've learned that you cannot trust historians. However, I have also learned that there is more to life than working and being fabulous. I remember years ago, my resolution list would read something like this. Lose that last pesky 4 kilos, eat more vegetables, and find a husband. But the more I think about it, the more I realise that resolutions should be more substantial. The new year is about making ourselves better people, while still staying true to our values. And that's the lesson all of you should walk away with today. This has been your fabulous, kind, and often overworked overlord here on C101.3, Voice of a Generation. And as always, prepare to kneel.